Aujourd'hui, je vais parler de, oh yes, a subject I know a good deal about, and that is credit cards. And why not start with the absolute earliest cards that I've gotten and see how they hold up after a decade or two. Hey, Zempak here. Today I'm finally going to start the series about credit cards. Right? First though, a disclaimer, everything about credit cards must be taken with a giant heaping grain of salt. I guess not really a grain. So if you're a beginner in personal finance or has ever had debt besides a mortgage, then the incredibly availability of credit in the Western world in the form of credit cards is probably a minefield for you, right? If that's the case, stick to what Dave Ramsey says and just use cash. I mean, you'd be losing out a tiny bit because life is just not that fair to cash users, but at least you won't dig yourself into an early financial grave. But hey, if you have been listening to me rant about financial independence, then I have to assume you are not a personal finance beginner and therefore totally appropriate to hear my early money journey tales. Because that's what it's going to be today, right? I'm going to talk about two of my earliest credit cards and what I liked about them and whether I still use them today, right? So if you're intrigued by what I might say, please subscribe, like, comment, and share all that social media buzzwords. Or don't, because I am rich enough for me and will be great regardless. Okay, my first card ever, right? That is actually a Discover card called Discover card, okay? That's right. If you look at Discover Card's website right now, you will find no such card that's just Discover, because I'm pretty sure they all got changed into Discover It or Discover It Mile cards at this point, right? The reality is mine was a Discover card because I actually canceled this card many, many years ago. So let's talk about what I liked about it and why I got rid of it a few years later, okay? Likes, no annual fee, as all Discover cards are that way. They also let me pick a custom graphic on it, so the cool factor of using or having my favorite painting as the design on my card was very sweet, at least as a gimmick, right? And finally, even though everyone knows that Discover is a minor player in the realm of credit cards, I didn't mind having a card that would serve essentially as a backup, because even when I was much younger, I knew that diversification in any category can't hurt. So then why did I get rid of this card? Okay, well that's simple, right? First of all, there's plenty of no annual fee cards out there, so that refutes my like number one. And the whole custom graphic thing is cool, but that's only when I'm looking at my cards, and literally I still have that specific card, like the physical card, as a memento. It just doesn't function as a credit card anymore, okay? So just as a piece of memory. And finally, to be honest, I just got the Discover card because I was a student and that was what was offered to me initially. Once I had a Visa, a card, and a MasterCard, and an Amex, why did I need yet a third or fourth backup, right? I just didn't need a Discover anymore. It served no realistic purpose. And that is why I'm pretty sure I canceled this card before I was even in my mid-20s, right? But I never cut up the card because I still really like the fact that it had one of my favorite paintings on it. Okay, the second card that I got was my Amex Green card. Oh boy. This one I actually only recently canceled. That's right, today I'm talking about my two earliest cards and I actually currently use neither, right? Still, this cancellation was a bit more difficult for me, but I pulled the trigger anyway. So let's go over what I like about it and why that still wasn't enough, right? So initially I liked it because, you know, Amex sounds prestigious, and that whole it's a charge card without any preset spending limit thing sounded appealing and different. I like that it had some fine categories of earning, at least in the recent years, in terms of like travel. And credit card reward rates changes all the time, so I don't actually remember what it used to be when I first got it, right? Like recently it's that whole 3 points per travel, per travel category, because it included Airbnb, okay? And finally, the fact that this was one of my first cards was also a plus. I mean, when I was a working professional, I only kept 2 or 3 cards on hand all the time, you know. And this was one of them. It wasn't until I hit FIRE that I started trying to optimize and getting more cards just for fun, and the sign-up bonus on Amex Green helped me kind of prop up that average history of credit for quite a while. So then why weren't these factors enough? Well, the whole brand prestige of Amex, I mean, it just meant less to me the older that I got. Plus, I still have an Amex Platinum for that if I wanted to show off or something. And that leads me to the fact that now that I have many other cards, the reward rates on the Amex Green is just being overshadowed by other cards, including primarily by other Amex cards, but also by other cards that I'll probably talk about at a later date, right? And now that I'm retired, by the way, it's just harder to justify not optimizing everywhere, not just in terms of reward rates, in terms of categories, but also in terms of getting rid of recurring costs that I don't need, right? And Amex Green costs $150 a year. That's a glaring example. Sure, it props up the average age of credit a bit, but at this point I have so many relatively new cards, it's barely increasing it for all of them by a year when you average it out. So I had to let it go. Now, point number 3, right? Let's talk about what I actually learned from these 2 earliest cards and their cancellation. Frankly, I wish I had kept my Discover card. The Amex Green cancellation happened recently enough that I know I made the right call for now, but who knows? I reserve the right to change my mind about that. Who knows how I feel about it in 5 to 10 years, right? The big difference is that I still have other better Amex cards, so it's not like I stopped my relationship with that company completely, right? Yet with Discover, I just thought, hey, why do I need this easy to keep card in an effort to reduce complexity? This is when I was younger, right? The complexity reduction part remains true. Having one less card, makes my brain have to worry a little less. But if I had kept that no annual fee card, my credit card would be that much closer to a perfect score because it would have another card with more than a decade of history, right? The reality is that the perfect credit score means almost nothing. Even less to someone like me who already has a house and don't really need a loan. But still, it is not only much later in life did I really learn more completely about what makes up a credit score, right? And how ongoing credit history is a fair component, right? Live and learn, I guess, right? And that should be your takeaway. If you have a card that has no annual fee, I would say there's no reason to get rid of it. Just keep it in a drawer or buy a minor item with it every 6 months or so, so the issuer won't close it for inactivity. Okay, that's easy to do. Okay, so are there cards that you have personally gotten and then canceled? Have you regretted any of those decisions? Now, I'm old enough to realize that I've definitely changed, right? Especially in 2 decades. So what I thought were right decisions a long time ago might look a little silly now, but that's a sign of growth, right? How about you guys? Do you have enough time to play a little bit of the credit card optimization game? Obviously, don't do it if you're in any kind of debt, right? Only do it if you can outwit those giant greedy corporations, right? Because that's what I'm doing, and it's definitely doable, and I encourage it, so long as you're not a beginner, right? Cheers, I'll approach it.